No sooner have Neural released a vocal plugin, very next day, a new firmware available. And this actually closes one important gap. Update. Please work. If you're going to do this, make sure you update the app first. You do need to do that. Able to run the new firmware. It'll be compatible. If you do it the other way round, this just stops at the end and you have to kind of just retry again and again and again. Yes, so 100% make sure you update this app to the latest version before you do the firmware update. Here's the big change. Tap tempo, which is really very handy. Let's be honest, that's only 2 switches. You got a tuner, what do I press to get out of it? Not only that, 4 sounds that you can toggle between, and now tap tempo as well. Like, they've absolutely gone above and beyond with this, I think. We've got other settings that are new now, so you could bypass the IR on certain bits, trails, MIDI stuff. You know, they've really overachieved on this one, I think. £444. Can do all your capture stuff. It's got enough effects in there to now do a gig with. I think it's got improved CC MIDI in kind of stuff as well. They've really got a lot out of this tiny little unit. This channel is supported by Truefire.
Well, what is this all about then? It's the Truefire Summer Music Festival. What I'm going to tell you about, you can get 1 month of all access for just $1. The all access, you can dip in and out of every single course on Truefire, so that's a really great way to get some awesome courses down you.
Okay, so it's been a little while that this little doohickey has been around. The Nano Cortex, I think, not super well received at launch, partly due to that, you know, where they did that action film with George Lever starring and Rubs. But anyway, so I think it got unfairly sort of smeared at launch. I was one of the people actually out there saying, you know, I think this is probably in some ways a bit of a better thought out product than the Quad Cortex even, just because it was like it's doing less, it's not over promising. And to the point where the update this year comes along and it's like, well, actually improve this immediately, you know, after launch to a state where it's actually, I think, a really good contender for a unit that a lot of people would have a lot of fun with. So I wanted to do a video kind of today just saying, you know, would I buy the Nano Cortex again? I think the short answer is probably yes. £444 on Thomann at the moment. Now, this is the smallest unit, I think, out there that can actually do the profiling thing all in the unit itself, you know, with a phone as well. The downside with ToneX Pedal and ToneX One is that you need to be hooked up to your computer to do any of the profiling / capturing stuff. Can the Kemper player, can that capture? I don't think so, or profile as they would call it. but it does meaningfully mean that you can take this little box out with you, and you know, I guess the Quad Cortex isn't huge either, but this is like small enough that it'll fit in. You could use it as a phone, you know, this is small, right? And I think you're starting to see, like, there's a bunch of neural DSP influencers that are taking these out and doing stuff on planes with them and stuff like that. Whether you'd want to do that for the person next to you or not, I'm not sure. But in any case, it is really small enough that you can stick it in a laptop bag or your holiday packing suitcase, and still have room for a body or whatever you're taking. So yes, the effects that are now on there, I think, are actually pretty great. All of the things on here, I think, actually sound pretty good, and that is not something that's necessarily true of, like, you know, in the Helix, you know, do I think that all of the delays sound really great or all of the drives sound really great? I think there's a bunch in there that are maybe a little bit on the averagey side or whatever, whereas in here I think you've got a smaller selection, but what is in there I think is pretty good. So Cortex Cloud, connected up, exit and capture for 1 second. It works. Great. So here's the preset that I've got here. Really is pretty straightforward. I don't think we've got a cab or IR on. Pre-effects. We can have drive now, right? Or modulation, or whatever we want. Post effects 1. Pre. So here we could stick on post effects, you know, reverbs. Now we've got ambience, cave, hall, mind, hall, room, and delays. We've got a good selection now as well. Circular delay, for example. Modulation, you know, we've got a bunch of great stuff in here now. Flanger, if you want to turn that on. Basically all you need to make some really good sounding stuff, in my opinion. You've got this pitch block here if you want to transpose, which I would just use for something else. Loads captures fine. There's loads of great captures in the cloud if you want. Mine are up there. I just think there's a lot of big wins now with the Nano Cortex. Like, it's matured into, I think, a really good product. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. When it comes to connecting to the unit, I've never had an issue. It's easy to overlook because so many units, like, actually getting your phone connected to them can be a real ball ache. It's not on the Nano Cortex, which I think bears repeating. Like, I've never had an issue connecting to it. It's a physical, you press exit and capture when you open the app. Just loads up and pretty good. The app works really well with it, integrates pretty well. What I do like about it is that you can switch between presets, and each one is also a toggle, so you've got access to 4 sounds on the unit. So all in all, I would say, you know, of all of the things that can profile and capture, this to me is, I think, one of the most attractive in terms of price, form factor, as well as connectivity with a phone. It's got all of the things I think you'd want, you know, USB-C. You can use it with an expression pedal, and I think that's a handy thing. Definitely for bassists, I think this would do pretty much all you need. And I even did gig the thing, just this on a pedal board. I think it works great for that. The profile that I'm using here is of my Pro Reverb, and it takes pedals very well. I tried a tube driver into it. Doesn't sound fizzy, just sounds really pretty good. So I think it's a product that I would recommend if you're really looking into this sort of stuff. I think I'd sooner have this on my board than something like the Universal Audio Dream 65 or whatever, because this can run your own captures. It doesn't have an effects loop. That's one sort of downside of it. So I guess the way that it's going to work with your pedal board is that your delays, if you're going to use any external delays, would go after it. Similar to the Universal Audio stuff in that regard, to be honest. The other sort of slight downside, if you're a pro user, might be lack of XLRs. You could use something like the Radial Highline or Highline Stereo to do that sort of job if you were going to be, really serious about gigging this thing out on the road. I do really appreciate that they've got this that can actually connect up to your normal sort of power supply as well. So all round, I'm very happy with what the Nano Cortex delivers. It's more than it did when I paid for it, and it's more than I expected when I paid for it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Cheers for stopping by.